Next time on a very spooky fine dining podcast, the season 1 finale, TGI Fridays the 13th. Oh, you betcha, pineapple's gonna hit the fan as Michael's son Juicy, or in this episode, Juice son Voorhees, goes on a murderous rampage, and no one is safe. It gets real spooky, it gets real bloody, and not everyone's gonna make it to the end of the episode. Who will live, who will die? Listen to Fine Dining, the search for the most mediocre restaurant in America, break down a trip to TGI Fridays based on the atmosphere, the service, and the food, and try not to be scared to death. Hear the thrilling finale of Fine Dining, Wednesday, October 25th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Press intrusion ended Harry and Chelsea Davies' relationship? If that's true, then how do I get them to look into my godson and his girlfriend? She has blue hair, and I do not trust her. I'm Harriet Langley-Swindon, and this is Non-Censored. Hello, and welcome to Non-Censored, the podcast that wraps up all the best bits from my very real daily radio show into one easy-to-digest highlights package. I'm joined, as ever, by my producer, Martin. And what a show we have for you this week, eh, Martin?
Oh, yes, indeed. We talked to our entertainment correspondent about the situation this morning, and we had a legal expert on to talk about the COVID inquiry. That's not what we ended up talking about, but it was definitely what we had him on to talk about.
That's the magic of live radio, Martin. Anything can happen. But as ever, there was so much we couldn't include. For example, we had a brilliant roundup of all of Labour's awful plans, which came to light last week, but it turns out we were just listening to a repeat from February, so we won't be playing that again.
The Valentine's Day advertising we had to do halfway through should have been a clue.
Now, if you enjoyed last week's Time for Questions episode, and if you have a question for us, you can email us at noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com. Last week's episode actually did really well in downloads, just on answering some questions you sent in. Makes me wonder why you bothered to book in all those guests, Martin.
Yes, it does seem like a lot of effort, doesn't it?
But let's start with the late breaking news that President Trump has been indicted under the Espionage Act. Now, this happened so late, we didn't have time to talk about it on the radio show, but I wanted to chat about it as a sort of podcast exclusive. Martin, what do we know?
Oh, yes, well, it's all going down over the pond. President Trump has got into a bit of hot water and the naughty
Trump.
scam.
Yes.
This time for violating the Espionage Act, obstructing justice, hiding little boxes of files that he claims to have declassified with his mind.
Martin,
So
it just seems to me a lot of fuss about nothing, doesn't it? So he did what? He hid some boxes. Big deal. Big deal.
I think it's less about the boxes themselves. It's more about the military secrets, nuclear information that was potentially within those boxes.
Well, they should be secret, though, shouldn't they? You should hide those. Those shouldn't be around. He's protecting the nation. He obviously knows best, and where best to put your secrets than in your own attic, I say.
Right, I see. So
yes.
Rather than keeping them under the, with all the other secrets,
yes,
the Pentagon, for example, he's actually done them a favour in a way by taking them home to the Mar-a-Lago, where you can pay to come and have dinner with him. That's
right, the last place people would think to look.
Right, okay. Interesting.
Apart from, unfortunately, in this case, they did look, but...
Yes,
but still, they didn't,
well, I mean, I see what you're saying. I personally feel like, here is a man who is besieged by different lawsuits. I wouldn't say that this will be the thing that stops him from being president again, but I tell you what, it builds a portfolio
Well, I'd like to say two things to that, Martin.
Yes.
Firstly, in a post on Truth Social, which is sort of like a superior Twitter,
Right.
you have a lovely time. It's absolutely great. He said he was innocent. So innocent until proven guilty. And, when people say who they are, believe them. So there's that. And secondly, if he did go to prison, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the kind of worst case scenario.
Orange jumpsuit.
Well,
That's what they wear over there.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think he could still run for president. It's what Nelson Mandela did, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. No,
Why can he be the America's answer to Nelson Mandela?
You know what? I think there are legal
similarities. Yes,
implications for being. I'm not sure you're allowed to run for the presidency from jail. However, I'm sure he could start a very popular TV show and sort of go back to his original first love of just being on TV and saying things.
Or he could write a really good book like Jeffrey Archer did.
You know what? I would actually be interested in seeing what Donald Trump wrote. I imagine it would be more of a picture book. What do
you think it would detail? Do you think it would be... I imagine all books would probably be about him.
Yeah, we're kidding ourselves if we think it would be anything other than just absolute filth.
Do you think he could write a bonkbuster? Sort of Jilly Cooper-like thing?
Exactly.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But in the world of American politics, or
and I wonder,
in the sexy world of golf.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's largely, as I understand it, an all-male environment in golf, and I'm not sure if Donald Trump would encourage
yes,
that
but
kind
this is the thing with fiction, Martin, is you can take a few liberties. So what you could do was maybe the men are playing golf, but all the caddies are sexy ladies.
Right.
And maybe Donald Trump, he could be cast as a sort of, the plucky underdog who has started golf and no one believes in him because they persecute him because he's rich and they think, oh, you just get to play golf because you're rich. And actually, he's really, really very, very good. And then he has this beautiful ball finder. I think that's the right term.
A ball finder?
Yes, when he hits the balls into the forest. And the ball finder, she goes off, she goes through the undergrowth, she tries to find the ball, and then she comes and she gets it from him. And to begin with, he's cross with her. He's like, go faster, Leslie. Why aren't you being fast? And then he begins to realise that, Leslie, it's a great act of love. He'll throw the ball, or whatever it's called in golf terms, hit the ball, buck the ball. Buck
strike
the ball.
it.
Is it? Oh, strike it. Strike the ball into the lake, because they have lakes in golf course, Martin.
Yes.
And then
yes.
Leslie dives in the lake and she can't swim, Martin. She can't swim.
This all sounds just like the kind of book that Nadine Dorries would write. Seems very much in her voice. Have you thought about
Martin? Martin would be much better than that. It would be much better than that. Nadine is she's an amateur writer, politician, and broadcaster.
Oh, right.
Okay?
So you two have
what I'm describing here is a professional, is from a professional mind.
Right.
Which would be Donald Trump's or mine. Both professionals in our field, both more than capable of writing a literary classic.
Yes, like a sort of a sexy Caddyshack, or
what's that?
It's a film with Bill Murray where he's
no, golfing. It's not going to be like Bill Murray. No,
okay,
no Bill Murray in this book.
Bill
Murray would be on a golf course.
A saucy Happy Gilmore.
And Adam Sandler. Yes.
Yeah, similar.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I prefer to think of it as a sort of saucy Charlton Heston film, but about golf.
Did he do a golfing film?
Well, I think he would have done if they'd let him.
If they let him, yes. No, that's a good point. He was.
But they wouldn't at the end. They wouldn't let him.
Well, at the very end.
The more I think about this, Martin, I think that the world is crying out for this book.
Well,
There could
I
be a whole
suppose-
series. What do you think we could call it? Martin, if you come up with a title,
yes.
I'll give you an acknowledgement. In
Okay.
private, not publicly. Mind you, the podcast people will know, but there's not many of them.
Any hole's a goal.
Any hole's a goal. Oh, Martin, that's very good. That's
Really?
very good.
I felt a
Martin,
little
I
bit
like
dirty
it. Sort
just
of
saying.
mysterious. You don't really know what it's referring to.
Well,
You're
I think
intrigued. What
Yes.
could it be, you think? You pick it up, and then you could have a sexy photo of
Ooh.
a stiletto caught in a golf hole.
Oh, that's quite a good image.
Yes.
Of course, it is wildly departing from our usual news-based, conflap. So perhaps
Well, I can't help it if I'm multi-talented, and my listeners know that, and I think this is proving it. I mean, absolutely wonderful what I've just come up with here. Absolutely wonderful.
If you would like to hear more about Any Hole's a Goal, then send your questions to noncensoredpodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. If you, lucky listener, would like to imagine scenarios for the book, if we like them, we will put them in and we will give you a metaphorical pat on the head. Or
literally
a clap like they did for the nurses,
We've just
who
outsourced
also didn't get a pay rise.
writing a bonk buster.
It just shows that you don't need money to contribute to society, which is what you would be doing by contributing to Any Hole's a Goal. So, just to recap, Trump, what do we think will happen, Martin?
Oh, well, he's definitely guilty, but I'm pretty sure nothing will come of it.
Oh, terrific. Now, how are you?
Are you doing okay? It's been a tough time for consumers of media as they deal with the shocking revelation that some people in the media aren't as nice as they seem.
I guess it's just hard when someone you tune into every week turns out not to be who they say they are, Harriet.
It certainly is, Producer Martin. So to talk about that, we had entertainment correspondent Henny Ffairground on. That's with 2 Fs. And she gave us all of the gossip.
Not
all the gossip, sorry.
Yeah.
Not, sorry. The lawyers said we couldn't say the stuff about the... Now, very serious topic for, what would usually be quite a frivolous part of the show. We are joined by Henny, our entertainment correspondent. Hello, Henny. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
No, but how are you?
How are you?
How are you?
Oh, bless you. Bless you. Well, how are you, though?
Oh, how are you?
Yeah, I think everyone's doing just fine. Henny, thanks for joining us. It is, of course, quite a turbulent week.
Of the obviously expected kind. No?
Yes, this is the thing, Henny. You've hit the nail on the head. Expected, because everybody knew, everyone knew, and I am just glad that the lies have finally come out. Because I've been saying this to people for years, not publicly, but in my head for years. And I'm just glad that finally it comes out and we know the truth.
Finally, yeah, those thoughts are now sounds.
Mm.
Like, how rotten eggs rise to the surface of a bowl of water?
No.
I tend to keep my eggs in the fridge, so we don't often have that problem.
Oh,
Henny.
Martin, that's a waste of fridge space.
I keep them in the cardboard box that they come in.
Okay, I don't want to talk
I
about
take them
eggs.
out
I want to
about
talk
5
about
minutes before.
Yeah,
I
all right,
boil them.
Martin. I want to talk about Holly and Phil and the fact that everyone knew and ITV knew, and what this says about TV, and it just makes me think, it's shocking, isn't it, when you realise that there are people out there in the entertainment industry that you've watched and listened to for years who might might not be good people.
But I don't think, for two people who have worked predominantly together in cold environments as well, because we should remember that they do work on an ice skating program, and I don't think anyone can spend that amount of time near ice without going ever so slightly mad.
Yes, okay, that's very interesting. I mean, I've never trusted ice skaters, and now I know why.
But Henny, I have a question. Of course, for a lot of people, this will be a new revelation. How
Who
far
are
back?
these people? Channel 5?
Well, some of the viewers really
Yes.
were taken aback. People that aren't clued in with the showbiz goss. I mean, does it go back as far as the broom closet, for example? Should we be looking at Gordon the Gopher? Should we be looking at Ed the Duck, Andy Peters, other people that may have shared those similar spaces at the time?
I mean, a lot of the things that Ed the Duck and Gordon Gopher do have in common with this story is that they all have the same hairstyle as Holly Willoughby.
Yeah, because of course Holly knew.
You knew.
They all knew. Don't
Yeah.
tell me you didn't know just because you didn't know.
Well, she
knew.
said that she didn't, and I don't know if you saw the quite dramatic speech that she gave on the show, and it convinced me. It was an Oscar-worthy performance, and it was compelling as hell.
I mean, she's very good at reading an auto cue. We have to give her that.
Henny, you've been in this industry a long time. Have you witnessed any behaviour yourself where you thought, that's not right? One day that will come up. Maybe give us some juicy names. I mean, I've always thought Claudia Winkleman, I bet there's something going on there.
I mean, she doesn't have a fringe for no reason.
Yeah,
She's got something to hide.
she's got something.
Yeah, it's a big fringe, hiding big lies.
Right.
Similarly, who else has a fringe? Holly Willoughby did have a fringe until recently.
Oh, so maybe she is innocent then.
No, I think she removed the fringe so as to look transparent.
Right.
Right, yes.
You can track a lot of different rumours and spurious allegations in the media, depending on whether people have a fringe or not.
Well, that's good to know. But Henny, I mean, any experiences yourself? Because I can't even remember what you were doing before this. Done all sorts of things.
We've done all sorts of things together.
Yes, plural. We
sure.
people.
And I have never had a fringe, and whereas you have. Do you remember that incident when we were camping out looking for bats?
Ooh.
For I think it was the early beginnings of Springwatch.
Oh, I would have loved to have been invited.
Don't think I'd want to camp and look at bats, Henny.
Sure, I am. I mean, we never found any because of the screaming, but
Oh.
yeah.
Oh.
Well, who was screaming?
I think for
Me?
legal purposes, we might have to avoid that story, actually.
I do seem to remember your screaming, and it was a very, very irritating sound.
I seem to remember you. Sure.
Really
telling me-
annoying. Really, like quite overpoweringly annoying.
Sure. I mean, I could scream now. It feels like I could easily
I
scream
don't
now.
think, on a largely audio program, I don't think we should encourage any screaming.
Producer Martin, didn't you have a story about screaming?
Oh, yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, sure. I remember. Who was I working for at the time? I can't really remember. It was so long ago. But yes, I'd just been shouted at by my boss at the time, and they were a real piece of work. And
What an ogre!
yeah, they'd actually been stabbing me with small. It was chopsticks, and yeah. I mean, I was like, no. Please don't do that. I'm about to go and see.
It can be quite an effective weapon. That actually.
Yeah, and
Yes.
of course, at the time, the Lionesses had just won the World Cup, and we were so
What?
we were so over in awe of their success, the first time ever that it had come home. Of course,
Martin, that wasn't years ago.
no, I mean, but it felt like yes.
Well, Martin,
years ago,
listen.
that-
I don't know who else was attacking you with chopsticks, but shame on them. I'm the only one who can be doing that. I'm so sorry that happened to you twice. Awful. Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Yes.
Martin, if you need it, there's a Facebook support group that I can refer you to if you would, if you do need some help.
I mean, that
Can
would
I
be
join
quite
it?
nice, actually.
No.
Fine. I don't go on Facebook anyway. I use Bebop.
I do have a question, Henny, and it's about trust in presenters. Do you feel that with this revelation, people, the general public, are going to lose faith in some of their favourite presenters just because Philip Schofield has come out and admitted that he's told lies? Do you think people will start doubting people like Piers Morgan? You know, thinking that, perhaps he's a liar too. Do you think people will start, Dan Wootton, Nigel Farage, all of the favourite...
Oh, dear. Yes.
They possibly should question it. I mean, is Bruce Forsyth even dead?
that's very
who
big
can we
question.
trust?
Yeah.
Who can we?
Yeah. He's probably hiding in an attic somewhere, isn't he?
I imagine so. And the Claudia Winkleman's Fringe, probably.
Yeah.
Very dark time for the entertainment world.
It'd be awful. I mean, people lost faith in me. Oh, God, I couldn't bear it. Because, I do have some sympathy with Philip, but I would say, Philip, you've dragged us all down with you, and we're innocent, We're innocent.
I mean, I think his issue was he should never have worn that long, colourful overcoat. I do think people in his position would usually tend to go for a beigeier overcoat. I think that's that's the outfit, isn't it, for his type of presenting. So maybe he made himself too visible for everyone.
And he did sing when he had that jacket on, didn't he?
He did. He did. I mean, it's just someone crying out for help, I think.
Henny Ffairground, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Not at all, but also never ask me again. Thank you.
No.
That's
bless you.
okay.
You too. Finally, we wanted to really get under the bonnet of the big issue dominating the legal system this week. Unfortunately, Martin booked Jeremy Bwoorp, a legal expert who had been covering the COVID inquiry, so we did our best. Jeremy, thank you for coming on the show. Wonderful to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's a really important thing to talk about, and I'm glad to have the platform to talk to more people about it, to be honest.
Really important. This is such a big... it says so much about not just politics, but law, and what we consider, and morality, what is right, what is wrong.
Well, it was really refreshing to hear you say that, because this is, I mean, the cabinet basically, so this is the COVID inquiry for those who aren't informed.
What?
And...
No, Jeremy, no. I think that's being done, hasn't it? No, I'm talking about Prince Harry.
Okay, well, I think we may have got some crossed wires here, because
Jeremy is on to talk about the COVID inquiry. That's what he was booked
yes.
for. Sorry,
I'm one of the lawyers
Bwoorp.
working.
Yeah.
Why do we need to talk about that?
That's
COVID
okay,
happened ages ago.
Yeah, no, it did, but there were other things that were happening at the time that we're still investigating, and this inquiry has been set up independently under the Inquiries Act to basically hold power to account, and we're having a hard time.
Hold power to account. Well, what I want to know is, when is Prince Harry going to be held to account?
Right.
He comes here, badmouths our press and our government. He's attacked our government and our press in one fell swoop. He said that the government and the press are in bed with each other.
Yes.
I mean,
is that a direct quote?
That's what he said. He said that they were at it like rabbits, metaphorically speaking. But maybe he doesn't. I don't know if he uses metaphors. I don't know if they do that in California.
Well, that's a simile, first of all.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm not a lawyer. I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer, Jeremy. and I don't know the right words for things.
Right, no.
I just know truth.
Okay, this is all spiraling a little. I think what's happened is there's been a bit of confusion. There's two separate stories here. One about Harry, one about the COVID inquiry. They're not linked as far as I'm aware. But Jeremy's on.
No, that it'd be ludicrous to assert that in any way that they would be remotely linked.
Unless of course
I'm not briefed about that.
Okay, good.
You're not briefed about Harry?
No, I mean I've seen the press coverage, of course, but there are much more important things.
I think that's briefing in my book, though,
happening.
isn't it? I know a lot about it now. I think I could brief a lot of people about Harry and what he's doing to this country.
What do you think he's doing to this country?
What's he doing to this country? Well, he's destroying it, isn't it? He's attacking our press. He's attacking me. I'm not personally, but he's attacking people like me. Just because we've got a few chums in government, and I think it's disgusting.
I sense that there's a slight a position that you hold here, Harriet. Okay, so imagine
Always.
Harry broke the rules. He broke the COVID rules. Say
he broke moral rules.
Right. Say he did that, and an independent inquiry was set up to investigate that. Yes. But Harry was deciding what information to withhold. Is that a moral thing to do if Harry were to do that? Which he obviously didn't, but if he did.
Be careful.
This is a lawyer trap,
be careful, Harriet. This is a sneaky lawyer trap. I think he's talking about the COVID inquiry. This is the problem
when we get lawyers on the show. Yes.
No, this isn't a lawyery trap. I'm just trying to demonstrate the thing I was invited on by Martin to talk about, and now we appear to be in this other.
He's very clever.
I know, Jeremy. When someone is making my brain hurt, he's
like a sneaky hunter with a net, and he's about to throw it over the two of us and then drag us off to a cave to be skinned.
That's what's going to happen. And you know what? I don't want to go to your lawyerly cave, Jeremy. I want to see Prince Harry be held to account for what he's done.
I don't think you're very good journalists.
What? Excuse me?
Jeremy, we've won awards.
Well, we were nominated. I mean, we have two very separate issues here, and we appreciate you being on the show to talk about them. I think perhaps if we just deal with the Harry situation, we can get back to the COVID inquiry. So, I mean, just from a lawyer's point of view, what do you think Harry's doing? You know, I mean, I've seen an actor.
What do I think Harry's
performing as him on Sky News? Is that?
Yeah, that's crucially not what Harry's doing. That's what an actor on Sky News
they look
is
quite similar.
And Jeremy, he couldn't back up any of his claims about phone hacking. He can't prove I did anything.
So you did anything?
Well, no, I just generally can't prove.
Are you
no
saying
comment.
that you're implicated?
No comment. Sorry, I've forgotten I'm with a lawyer. No comment.
My understanding, not being in that realm at all, not working on that case, is that Harry is going up against the Mirror Group about phone hacking. Now, he's doing something that a lot of people have settled out of court for because they don't have the funds, they don't have the privilege where they can take on this conglomerate who, let's be frank, have absolutely done this in the past. So I think it's a good thing that he, at the very least, is shining a light on those people who don't have a platform. So as far as I understand it, that's what he's doing. The case hasn't been settled as we speak now. So the COVID inquiry is something that we really need to talk about.
Before you say, can I just say, what about the people with platforms?
Do you mean shoes or just pieces of wood?
Well,
what do you mean?
They're both.
Who's going to shine a light on the people who've already got light shining on them? You know?
Like BTS?
Who's going to speak for the journalists?
Oh.
Well, like dear old Piers Morgan getting it in the neck, you know?
Is he getting it in the neck?
He is. He's been mercilessly persecuted by those two from day one. It's like they've got an obsession against him. And I sometimes wonder if it's sexual.
I don't understand how you legally get away with saying any of this on air, to be honest.
Well, a lot of it is cut.
Ofcom doesn't mind.
Out of the podcast version.
That makes a lot of sense. Look, at the moment, we're in a situation where Baroness Hallett is in charge of this inquiry. She's rebuked the government.
Awful woman.
And she's an independent lawyer who's just trying to get answers for the public, for people who listen to this podcast. And the Cabinet's position at the moment is, and I quote, the Cabinet's position is that it is working out its position.
Jeremy, would you want people looking at your WhatsApp messages? No, I don't think you would you?
If I was in a public-facing sphere and there was strong evidence that I had broken laws and rules that other people had had missed funerals to adhere to, I think my WhatsApp, whether I like it or not, should be looked at.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to stop you there because you talk about breaking laws, and I think we are setting a very, very dangerous precedent if we're going to start suggesting that the Prime Minister has broken laws. That is very, very dangerous. What could that lead to? Prime Minister getting punished?
Yeah, that's exactly what it could lead to.
No, that's what they did in the French Revolution.
Well,
is it?
Yes, and people ended up with no heads, Jeremy.
The precise example in the French Revolution of when that happened.
When they
which
cut
monarch
off the heads of the royals.
But sorry, you've changed the argument in the middle there, because you've said that the Prime Minister shouldn't be held accountable for crimes, and now you're talking about the people who cut off the heads of the monarchs. There's a very different thing.
Monarchs, prime ministers, they used to be similar things, didn't they?
Jeremy, I appreciate everything you're saying, but I have got to side with Harriet on this one. I think people getting their heads chopped off is a bad idea, and
it's not good.
The amount of straw men in the room with us is absolutely amazing.
Mind you, I do think cutting off Prince Harry's head, now it's extreme, but I think to not punish Harry is a very, very dangerous road to go down.
The hypocrisy
do we want to be responsible
here
for that?
is so rife, it's impossible to wade through. I don't know what I'm doing here. This is an embarrassment, and I can't believe anyone listens to this.
No one listens. I'm sorry. Is the booker of Jeremy Vine no one?
No, that's true.
So it's one. So the booker for Jeremy Vine listens.
One's more than listens to you, Jeremy.
Okay.
I seriously would advise you to seek legal advice, because I don't think this is a healthy situation.
Getting threatened by a lawyer. Getting threatened by a lefty lawyer.
I'm not left wing. This is
the
beyond
blog
politics.
once again has infiltrated the podcast in the form of Jeremy Bwoorp.
Threatening you. I'm saying that the way you conduct yourself on this podcast is so wildly unethical that you are going to get sued by somebody in the future.
I have just realised how Boris Johnson feels.
Do you know what? That doesn't surprise me.
Jeremy, I'm very sorry that you've had to go through this. I have baked some fairy cakes. Perhaps you'd accept one as an apology, and we'll get you on.
God, you're almost worse than her.
Did you hear that? It's after you now, Martin.
Well, that's it for this week. Like, subscribe,